Hi everybody, I'm Susan Mulvihill. Welcome back to our garden in Spokane, Washington, which is in hardiness zone 5B/6A. I wanted to start out today's video here because I wanted you to see the transformation that has taken place in our garden. Our temperature yesterday was 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which is insane for this time of year. So all of our snow has melted, and for now we're enjoying some nicer temperatures, but winter is coming back in a few days, so I just have to enjoy it while it lasts. So today is part 2 of my indoor seed starting series, and we've got a lot of things to accomplish today, including planting seeds, so let's head inside. Now, first of all, if you missed my video last week, which was part 1 of my indoor seed starting series, you probably are wondering what this is all about. So a little over a week ago, I had surgery for basal cell carcinoma, which is a type of skin cancer. And I am doing okay. It's just that this area takes quite a long time to heal. I've got a lot of stitches, and so I'm going to have to keep a bandage over this spot for probably another week. I have to tell you, it's getting old though. Also, after my video last week, I have to tell you, so many folks sent me nice notes saying, sending healthy thoughts your way, I'm thinking of you, heal quickly, and so on. You know, you guys are the best, and I really appreciate all of your good thoughts. I'm on the mend, just a little more slowly than I would like. Now, there's 2 things that have come up since last week's video, so I wanted to cover those first. And I do want to encourage you that if you missed the first video, go back and watch that, because I put a lot of information in there that will help you be successful at starting seeds indoors. Now, the first thing that came up has to do with a product that I mentioned. There is a fungal disease called damping off disease, sometimes referred to as damping off syndrome, and it kills seedlings very quickly. A long time ago, I learned that milled sphagnum moss will inhibit the development of those fungi. So what I've been doing all these years with great success is, as soon as I plant the seeds and cover them with soil, I sprinkle a very light layer of this over the top. And I have never had any problems with damping off disease. So this product that I was holding during the video is called No Damp Off, and it's from a company called Moser Lee. Well, I have learned that they changed the name of the product. They still sell it, but it gets a little confusing. So the new name is Succeed Seed Starter Mix. So I just wanted to let you know about that. If you go to moserlee.com, you will see it there. Now, I wouldn't recommend using it specifically as a seed starting medium where that's the only thing you use. Again, I just sprinkle it on the top of the soil surface once I've planted my seeds, and that is perfect. Another thing that came up has to do with pelleted seeds. And as I mentioned in last week's video, a lot of times seed suppliers will put a coating on seeds, maybe because they're super small, so it makes it easier for you to see them, or it makes it easier for you to handle the seeds. Well, what my follower told me was that she had learned that the coating greatly decreases the length of time that seeds are viable. And I thought, well, great. So I did some research on it. I did find information to that effect, mainly that it tends to reduce the life expectancy or viability of the seeds to 1 year. Now, if you saw my video last week, you know that I was showing you the viability chart on my website that talks about how long seeds tend to have their highest rate of germination. And lettuce seeds have 6 years. It's the longest period of time of all of the different crops. So last year I grew Bauer lettuce. It's an All-America Selections winner. It is fabulous. And so I ordered the economy size of 100 pelleted lettuce seeds, thinking that was great. This was a few months ago. Now I'm hearing, okay, they're probably only good for 1 year. I hope that's not the case. But one of the things I did learn from a few folks is that if you store these in your refrigerator, they will tend to have a longer shelf life. And what you can do is use those little packets of anti-desiccants, you know, like what you get in a package because the shipper doesn't want there to be any moisture in there. You can put one of those in the container of the pelleted seeds, and with a little luck, they should last a lot longer. But I did want to let you know about this. Last week, I very quickly went through some basic seed starting supplies that you'll want to have. Today, I want to just take a few minutes to talk about containers. So, as I mentioned last week, you want to start with some type of a container that does not have any drainage holes. So you could go with this type of a thing, which is called a flat. You might go with a smaller container. Again, no holes in there. This is a half flat. And then you're going to put soil and your seeds into smaller containers that do have drainage holes. So this is called a flat insert. You can see it's got a lot of cells in it that have holes in the bottom, and it comes in all different sizes. Still one that fills a hole flat, but maybe it's all sections that have 4 openings per tray, or maybe 6 openings in different sizes, and so on. There's all different kinds of sizes. The problem with these inserts is that they are so flimsy. And I hate using something for just a very short period of time and sending it off to the landfill. I'm all about recycling. If you look at this one, you see how it has split, so I'm always having to tape the sides. Some of the cells have collapsed, and so I'm trying to push them out. They're just awful. And so a lot of times what happens is I have to buy new flat inserts, maybe like every other year. These go off in the trash, and I feel really badly about it. Well, I found something that is a game changer, and I wanted to show it to you. I have found something that is so much better than those plastic inserts, and they are seedling trays from Epic Gardening. If you're not familiar with them, Kevin Espiritu is the owner of Epic Gardening, and his mission is to teach the world to grow. He started carrying these seedling trays that are made from recycled plastic, and they are made in the USA. I once saw him stand on one of these seedling trays, which is when I realized just how strong they are. So I decided to get some this year, and I am so impressed. They come in a 4-cell, 6-cell, and 16-cell trays, and I'm going to use some 6-cell trays today. Here's what the 6-cell trays look like. And you might think, boy, those look kind of different. They've got all these holes in them. Well, first of all, they are incredibly sturdy. There is no way I can crush or break these. The other thing is that you see these little slits here? These are specifically put in to help air prune the roots. So what does that mean? Normally what happens in pots is that roots tend to circle and circle and circle, and that is really hard on a plant and makes it difficult for it to grow well. What air pruning does is it trains the roots more to go down and become a much better root system rather than circling. If you look in the bottom, you see these holes here. Well, when you're ready to transplant your seedlings out into the garden, or maybe you need to up-pot them to a little bit larger pot, you just put your finger underneath and pop the soil out very easily. One of the things I will mention off and on with growing plants is that you never ever want to pull a seedling out by its stem, because that crushes the cells within the stem. That makes it very hard for plants to move nutrients and water. And so if you can just pop them out this way, that is ideal. So this is what I'm going to be using today to plant some lettuce. I will tell you that they're a bit expensive because of the process involved in recycling plastic, but these will probably be the only seed trays you'll ever need to buy. The cool news is that Kevin recently invited me to be an Epic Gardening ambassador. So what does that mean? It means that I will be sharing more of my content in the form of these videos and my social media posts with his massive amount of followers. So this gives me a larger audience to share my love of gardening with. And a side benefit of it is that I now have a discount code. And so if you need seed starting supplies like what I just showed you, or seeds, or books, or any kind of garden related things, you can go to his website, epicgardening.com, look for the yellow button that says shop, and you will find the different categories of things there. I don't know if you know this, but he recently bought the Botanical Interest Seed Company. And I was showing you in last week's video how detailed the information is on the Botanical Interest seed packets. So I'm a huge fan of them. But anyway, my code for the discount is Susan5. So you'll get a 5% discount off of all orders. And I realize that 5% isn't a lot, but hey, every little bit counts, right? Okay, let's plant some seeds. Today I'm going to plant seeds for an early crop of bower lettuce. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm in hardiness zone 5B, 6A. But if I get them growing nicely and then plant them under protective covers in a few weeks, I'll get a really nice early harvest. The first step is to lightly moisten your germination mix, seed starting mix, or potting mix. You don't want it to be sopping wet. Actually, it should be about the amount of moisture you would feel in a wrung out sponge. Then you want to fill your seedling trays. So first thing that I do is I start pushing it down into each cell because you want it to be relatively firm. Place your seedling trays into a flat of some sort that doesn't have any drainage holes in it. And then you want to check your seed packet to see what the planting depth is for the seeds. In the case of these pelleted bower lettuce seeds, it says 1/4 inch. And I'm just using a little chopstick to make some holes. And plant your seeds in the hole. Now you want to fill in the soil over the tops of the seeds as needed. There we go. Now this is where that milled sphagnum moss comes into play. And look at how little I use of it. It is actually quite inexpensive, and so you can imagine this bag that I bought is going to last an incredibly long time. And it's just a little insurance, basically, to keep your seedlings healthy. One other thing I like to do is just give a little bit more water to each of the seedling trays just to settle the soil around the seeds. I just find that you get better germination that way. Now, a lot of people ask me about this water that I'm using. It's actually a soda pop bottle, and I bought some bottle top waterers from the web. They're very inexpensive, they last a very long time, and it gives a very gentle mist to the seedlings that I'm watering. Now you don't want to forget to label your seedling trays. so that you remember what you planted. And then you're going to put some type of either a clear dome lid or a clear plastic bag, or even just lay plastic wrap over the surface of the soil. And that is to increase humidity in order for the seedlings to germinate. The last step is to put your seedling flat under some type of a light source. I'm using the Stack and Grow light setup from Gardener's Supply. It uses LED lights, so very energy efficient, and it is on a timer for about 16 hours a day. I realize not everybody has a grow light system. You can put your seedling flat on a sunny windowsill, but you need to keep an eye on it because you want to make sure that it's not getting too hot underneath your dome or your plastic bag. And also, because the light coming through a window is not as intense, you'll find that the seedlings, after they've germinated, are going to be leaning towards the light, and that makes for really weak seedlings. And so you would want to turn the seedling flat multiple times a day to try to give them as strong a central stem as possible and a good strong root system. So now we just need to wait for them to sprout. As soon as the majority of the seeds have germinated, go ahead and remove the lid, the plastic bag, or the plastic wrap because it has served its function. It was just there to increase the humidity. Now you don't want it in the way of the seedlings as they grow. As soon as you remove the plastic dome lid or the plastic bag or the plastic wrap, that's when you need to really monitor the soil moisture. When those things were in place, there was plenty of humidity, so you didn't have to do a thing about soil moisture. Well, now you do. The goal is for lightly moist soil rather than bone dry or sopping wet. Either of those two will stress your seedlings, and you want to give them the best start in life possible. Now I want to show you the leaves up close because I wanted to emphasize something. One thing I wanted to tell you is that these are not lettuce seedlings. These are actually two different varieties of pak choi seedlings that I started a week ago. The thing I wanted to show you first is these cute little leaves here. These are the first type of leaf that a seedling has. They're known as seed leaves or cotyledons. Now look over here, and I realize this is going to be really hard to see, but there's a little kind of an elongated leaf coming out of the center, and that is known as a true leaf. It's called that because that is what the mature leaves are going to look like on the plant as they grow. They'll obviously be a lot larger. But the reason I wanted to tell you this is because once your seedlings have some true leaves, that's when you want to start feeding your seedlings. So let me show you what I use. I like to use Alaska fish fertilizer, but there are other products that you'll find that are specifically for seedlings, and you might also see the term fish emulsion. The label on the Alaska fish fertilizer recommends using 2 tablespoons of the fish emulsion to a gallon of water. It's my experience that that is too much for these young seedlings, so I have that. So instead of 2 tablespoons for a gallon of water, I do 1 tablespoon to a gallon of water and just give them a light feeding. I do this about every 2 weeks, and it's just to help them get going. So Alaska fish fertilizer and other seedling fertilizers are high in nitrogen, and that's what these young plants need at this stage. If you see roots coming out of the bottom of the seedling trays, but it's too early to plant them out into your garden, you will need to up-pot them. This means transplanting them into a larger pot. I usually go from the seedling trays up to a 4-inch pot. Remember to handle them very gently, never pull them out by their stem. Let's talk about hardening off. And this is really important information, so please do not skip over it, because I'm letting you benefit from the errors I've made over the years. If you move your plants right out into the garden from indoors without acclimating them to the intensity of the sunlight first, the plants will become sunburned. They'll have white leaves like you see in this photo, and they can even die because the leaves need to be able to conduct photosynthesis. That's how they get energy from the sun in order to grow. So here are the steps. On the first day, move them outside to filtered light, so not direct sun, for an hour, and then bring them back indoors. On day 2, you're moving them out for 2 hours and then back inside. Day 3, you guessed it, they're going out for 3 hours and then coming back indoors. Now, from day 3 up to day 7, you're increasing the amount of time each day by an hour and also increasing the amount of sunlight they're getting, so moving them more into direct sunlight. After 7 days, they'll be ready for their life out in the garden. This might sound like a hassle, but you will be so glad you have taken the time to do this. Now, if you work full-time, I realize this can be very challenging. So here's what I recommend you do. Put your plants outside in a shady area for a few days, bringing them back in at night, of course, and then slowly move them into more sunlight. So you're not moving them in and out by the hours, but giving them a gradual exposure to sunlight during your work days. You might even start the hardening off process on the weekend if that's when you're off, because then you can control those first couple of days of having them out in filtered light for an hour, bringing them in, second day more time, and so on. Okay, so those are the steps for starting your plants from seed and getting them ready for their life outdoors. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me an email. My email address is susan@susansinthegarden.com, or comment on this video in YouTube. Thanks so much for watching today, everybody. I hope you're excited to start some plants from seed. Happy gardening!